Now, one of the other things we talked about going into this game, we've been talking about, is their lack of turnovers. They had forced 4 turnovers in 6 games. They were toward the bottom of the league in that category. They were toward the bottom of the league in differential. Yet, in this game alone, they almost matched their season total. They forced 3 turnovers, including a great one from Boye Mafe.
Boye Mafe is in there in an inside rushing position. Robinson stays in the backfield for Atlanta. Cousins scrambles left side, gets hit, goes down, Mafe, ball comes out. Ball rolling, picked up far side. It's hauled down the far sidelines. He's going to score. Touchdown, Seahawks. Derek Hall on the sack by Boye Mafe. Cousins coughs it up, and Hall goes the distance. The second-year linebacker out of Auburn. He probably has a suite full of family and friends here watching. Cousins had nowhere to go with the ball. It's knocked away from Cousins by Boye Mafe. Picked up, and Hall takes it. 36 for the touchdown. The Seahawks up 30-14.
Derek Hall is a really smart football player. If you go back and look how he scooped that ball, we have drills for that. I know it's age old. I'm sure they still do it, where you kind of run up next to the ball instead of running right
over the top of it,
because then you kick it.
Yeah.
And so, you see that he kind of scooped it from the side perfectly. And, and then you look at Mafe and him getting his hand placement was perfect. I mean, it was very close to him, actually looking at like maybe it would be an incomplete pass, and he gets his hands up in the air. Man, I saw Mafe down on the field afterwards waiting to be interviewed, and I'm standing next to him talking to him. I swear to God, he's 6'8". He is huge, and you watch him run, and then he put his hand on my shoulder, and it kind of like buckled my knees. This guy, he is just a monster.
It's like a leg.
Man. Oh my God, he's an amazing player, and then Derek Hall being a really smart player, and those two guys combined for the takeaway. And I think what happens is when you are confident playing defense, and that's where, like I was talking in the run game, there's just a little repair. It doesn't happen, all at once, but, slowly you're getting confidence to know that you can make those kinds of plays, and that's when the takeaways start to come. Now, I'll say this, I think Cousins, he overthrew a couple of balls that were, but that's what happens when the pass rush comes, and, you saw Dre Jones have a really good game as well. So you start pressuring the quarterback, and the more confident you get, the more you're able to take the ball away, because those kinds of plays are all what I talk about, the third part of being a football player. You get alignment, you get your assignment, and then you just become a football player. And there's a lot of confidence going on right now in that defense. And you could feel it building during the game, and that's when you start to get takeaways.
Well, Dara, you talked about his technique there. He describes how he was in a position to make that fumble return for the touchdown.
That's something that we always practice, is the scoop and score, but obviously give credit to Boye, being able to get there, get home, and then get the ball off of him. And, the game rewards effort. So being in the area and running to the ball. And, the main thing was, don't miss the scoop, because I knew it was so much green grass. That was the biggest thing. So, scooping the ball, getting up under it, and, just running, just playing ball, man. It's a blessing to be able to have those opportunities.
Yeah, he scooped it, and then in came number 21 out of nowhere, like a heat-seeking missile.
Yeah,
to get in the way there.
We were just looking at that play, and I actually think he might have pushed the tackle forward, but what he did was he made the guy hesitate because he saw that a blocker was coming there. So
he came in out of nowhere.
I know. Yeah, he is amazing.
Talking about Witherspoon, by the way.
You
guys don't know his number.
Yeah, he really is. He hasn't made as many plays this year, but you see what an aware football player he is. And same thing with D Hall. I mean, that's one of those things. Like he said, I didn't even consider that. He's looking at all that green grass, going, man, I could score a touchdown in the NFL.
Don't mess it up.
Yeah. So he does. It's like we talk about with receivers. They will leave. They'll turn before they catch the ball. You got to secure that, take it one at a time, and that's what he did. I like to hear that they're still doing those kinds of drills, and he just concentrated on that. And then I don't know if that helped. I think he was going to score either way. Mm-hmm. The block on McGarry, the tackle, but I still feel like just watching him hustle is kind of like what this team was about. they have confidence, and so when you have confidence, you can play fast.
Well, and to me, it was sort of like it wasn't equal to, but it was just in terms of keeping your head in the game and effort. It was like the DK play when he tracked down Budda Baker and tackled him. Here comes a guy who's not even in the picture, comes zipping in like a heat-seeking missile to try to make a play to help his team there. And I'm, again, talking about Witherspoon, I just thought, there's a guy who's he's on 10 the whole time. I just loved the effort of that play. I thought it was great. But one guy, who's Josh Jobe? I saw the number and I'm going, wait a minute, who is that? And I'm trying to see his nameplate and I'm going, what? I haven't heard this guy's name before. And all of a sudden he gets thrown in there because of all the injuries. Talking about the secondary, and I thought played pretty well. I mean, I didn't see any moments that stood out like, oh boy, that was bad. He got fooled or he was in the wrong spot. And Mike McDonald talked about him after the game.
Well, shout out to John and his staff for picking him up, and he's been practicing his tail off. Just picks everything up really quick. He's a smart guy, like long, tall, fast corner. Knows the defense, and like I said, he's practiced so well throughout the week. I just had a lot of. I know Carl Scott was probably had some longer nights than I did, but I felt pretty good going into the game.
Yeah, it's funny how they just have confidence in these guys like Nehemiah Pritchett, who we'll talk to later. Jobe. I thought, afterwards I said I thought this was a John Schneider special. Having two rookies, guys that he drafted, that one was supposed to be a project. And then, you bring in Jobe. Who was the other guy? Fayon. What was his last name? I'm trying to remember. They had him active. And yeah, it was one of those where he went and got some guys, and just put it together. And those guys went out and played really well. So yeah, I was the same way. I'm like, Jobe, where'd he come from? Played with Philadelphia for a couple of years.
Number 29, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there on the TV trying to hit pause, going, wait a minute, who the hell is that? And then I saw his name. I'm going, I don't know who this is. Where did he come from? And yeah. It was nice they were able to pick him up and get him in there, and it seemed like he did it without missing a step. It was impressive, man. It was there are a lot of things to be excited about, especially defensively yesterday, because that had been the problem area. If we're going to, and you touched on this briefly, but there are still concerns. They gave up 155 yards rushing. Now, the difference is 117 of that was in the first half. I mean, they were getting gashed pretty good on the ground, going, okay. What were you seeing in the first half versus the second half? Because 117 that first half, it was feeling bad just in terms of that aspect of the defense.
Yeah, well, and another guy that they traded for during the week, Roy Robertson Harris.
Yeah,
and that was the guy Paul Moyer was talking about. How he's really good player, and what a great pickup it was. And he actually, in the first half, I saw a couple of times what I just described, that he got turned. So, and what I mean by that is, and we talked about it last week, everybody needs to stay square to the line of scrimmage when you're taking on your block. So if you're in the end zone, you should be able to see the defender's numbers and nameplate because they're staying square. But when they get turned sideways and you're looking at the sleeve or the right arm or whatever, that's when it's bad. And that happened more often in the first half than it did in the second half. And I saw Robertson Harris a victim of that at one point. I think I saw Dre Jones one time, a couple of times with the linebackers, and then all of a sudden in the second half, and then they're playing catch-up ball, so they're having to throw the ball. But yeah, I thought it occurred less frequently in the second half. They slowly got better.